Okay. Oh, the question was, oh, okay. So death, the thing with the mrityupada. Now, um, generally, for example, if you have somebody who third from the Aruda Lugna has a Mars-Venus combination, that's a nice combination to die in a car accident. And if third from the Aruda Lugna is Mars-Venus, because Venus is vehicles, Mars is accidents. So Venus-Mars, third from the Aruda Lugna is a nice combination to die from accidents. It's beautiful. That's yeah. Yep, third. So now, if this combination is there, the person is generally accident prone anyway. They generally have one or two accidents before they get that accident that kills them. Somebody that drowns generally had a problem with water once or twice before they drown. So generally the A8, it kind of acts, the third house from the Aruda Lugna, it acts up a little bit before it actually kills us. So generally, if you have a problem with something and you've had a few close to death experiences, yeah, generally death will come and get you in a similar way. So that's just to go in. So maybe you might predict that somebody will die in a car accident and they don't die, but there's a good chance that they will at least have a car accident at that time. So you can even just predict that they'll have a car accident and not tell them that they'll die. Or, you gotta. It's sensitive information, so you gotta be careful with it. Yeah. If Jupiter and Venus are aspecting the third from the Aruda Lugna, it shows that they'll know about their death. So you're almost guaranteed to predict the right time, because it's their karma to know that they're going to die. So most likely it'll be a real easy calculation. If there's a lot of malefic influences to that chart, the chance of them knowing that they're going to die, to the third from the Aruda Lugna, malefic influence, the chance of them knowing that they're going to die is small. So it makes it less chance of you being able to calculate it. It's almost like when you're interacting with somebody, their karma is as important as your ability. Yes? Well, first you have to know that they have car accidents. You see that. Yeah. And then the Mrityupada will show accidents as well as dying. The big thing, though, when you start going in the car accidents, you have to make sure that the Vimshrotri and the Narayan Dasha are both supporting car accidents. So before you just use the A8, look and see that they're supporting the factor. But that month that accident happened in, it'll give you some good insight into where your A8's strong. There was one more question before we take a break?
Yeah, and you may not add into this.
All that's first. Okay. The longevity calculation is first. I just brushed over the longevity calculations. You could spend a week on those longevity calculations. Which one to apply in which cases. The phase of life, the Shula dashas, the year that transit. Because, the first calculations are the first third of life, the second third of life, or the last third of life. So that doesn't give you very much. Then you look in the Shula dashas of that phase. And the Shula dashas and the Mula dashas and the Vimshroti dashas, utilizing all that, it's going to give you sometimes a period of 7 to 16 years. And once you die, do you have any Arudapadas conjunct the A3? The third house from the Aruda Lugna.
What do Arudapadas there show?
We'll see
what happens if there are no planets from Arudapada?
No. Then generally you look at aspects as well as the sign. The sign shows where you die. The aspects and planets will show how. So, for example, the moon was aspecting my father's third house from the Aruda Lugna, and he died of lung cancer. So like this, generally
Rashi Drishtis again.
You can use all. You got to use them. You got to use them in the proper way. But everything factors in. Graha drishtis will show who's present, and so who's present is going to make a difference on how you die, depending. This is third house from the Aruda Lugna. Guruji did a whole lecture on it. So these calculations, you got to get down to the year before you start using this calculation. And so the only time that you're really going to start using this now is my example of somebody who has a parent or somebody or a child who's suffering. And then this is a very important technique for you to know. Right. It's very important. It was so, for me to be with my father when he passed was so important. Yeah. And because of these calculations, I was able to go home at the proper time. And so for that reason, this is very important. To just tell somebody that they're going to die in December of 2035 on the 7th day of the month, on the 7th Tithi, it doesn't, there's people that do it, and it's good money, but what's the karma associated with it? I don't know.
What's the significance of padas in the third from the AL, though? You were going to mention that?
They'll have an effect on how you die. They'll show... They'll show things involved. Yeah. It's a story. Remember the Bhavapadas, the Arudas they're Maya. So there's a lot of story in them. They'll give you details to the story. Who's involved and what's going on, because that's Brahma Yoga, third from the Aruda Lagna. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of knowledge there, and I don't know if there was the right Arudapadas. It could have even been somebody who, I'm not going to okay, so we'll talk about spirituality after the break with the A8.
You're saying that people that have a certain karma to die might, if they're going to die with an accident, that they could possibly have like a few accidents beforehand.
Yeah.
Maybe they would come in the same month.
Similar or trines.
Right. So then
it's all connected to the A8. Yeah.
Every year it's useful to know like these are the months that problems.
Yeah. So, transformations and spiritual experience. Am I being recorded?
Yes, we're here. We're
okay, I'm on. So, now, when I was needing some data for this information, I asked a few people, I put up a few emails out to some friends, and I said, I need some spiritual, some information about spiritual experiences that you've had and some dates if you have months, because most of the research I was doing on a lot of people, you could easily find the year they had this experience or their age when they had the experience, but to find the month was not easy. And so I put out, to try and get some of this information. And what happened when I said spiritual experience, people are writing back and they said, I was initiated into this mantra at this time. Or, I met this spiritual teacher at this period of my life. Or, I started studying Sufism at this time. And now the big thing is when we say spiritual experience, all those that I just mentioned are A5. They're mantrapada. They're all initiations into a spiritual path. They're not actual internal spiritual experiences where something happens inside and you all of a sudden have this like great revelation and you live your life totally different. And you could have that and then a year later meet the teacher that you get initiated into. So the A8 and the A5 are two different points. Sometimes they can be the same for some people, but the big thing is when we talk about spiritual experience related to the Mrityupada, we're talking about not organized religion whatsoever. We're talking about you might be hiking in the woods and all of a sudden you have an incredible realization. You got to sit down, the trees all become alive, and you realize that everything is alive on this planet, and whatever it is, it's not, when we say spiritual experience, it's not going to church. It's not when you started going to church. It's totally the natural internal movement of when something awakens inside and there's transformation that happens.